Would you like to win and achieve success at what you do? Welcome to the Winner's Ways podcast, where we create winners every day. And now, your host, the author of Winner's Ways book and life coach, Bola Alabi.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Winner's Ways podcast. So today we have a very special guest with us. Her name is Becca Ribin. Becca is the author of the Clarity Journal, and she's a coach, and she's been doing this for over a decade. So what Becca is going to share with us now today is how to achieve clarity. So if you are in that cycle, you are going back and forth, you are not certain of what you need to do, this episode is for you. So if you need to figure out how to, achieve clarity and maintain momentum in your life, this is your episode. So you need to listen to Becca today. Without keeping you waiting further, I'm going to bring in my guest, Becca. Hey, Becca, how are you?
Hey, thank you so much for having me on.
Awesome. I'm glad to have you here today. So, Becca, I always want my guests to use their own words to introduce themselves to my audience. So, if you don't mind, can you let us know about you, what you do, who you are, so that we can get more connected with you?
Yeah, well, as you said, I've been a coach for a long time, and I actually came up with the Clarity Journal when I was going through my own period of indecision. I had just come out of, a lot of different things have been hard in my life. I had a second baby. He was ill a lot when he was little. And, when I was coming back out and trying to figure out how to kind of re-engage the world, because when I was in that mode of just getting through it with the baby and making sure that the things that I really needed to get done were getting done, I really had let go a lot of the things that I love. And so when I was kind of going back and forth about what I wanted to do next and how I wanted to do it, I was talking to a friend, and she stopped me and said, "Becca, you're a coach. How do you help people get clarity? Because this is what you do every day." And I laughed and got kind of annoyed at her, but I didn't say that. And it was just that is a really good question. How do I help people? And I got off the call and I wrote down every single question I could think of that I had asked other people to help them get out of that cycle of stuckness. And as I was writing them down and answering them, I just really realized that it's the power of being asked questions that get you outside of your own head and start looking at the problem in a different way. It's so powerful, and it helps you move forward so much faster than you'd be able to yourself.
Well, that's powerful. You spoke about the power of question, and the way I put it is everything in life, if you really think about it, is figure outable. You just need to ask that powerful question.
Right. And when we're stuck, we're usually asking the same questions over and over again and not actually getting anywhere because we can't make a decision. And by getting out of that cycle, you actually are able to make the decision because you have more information.
So why do you think people struggle with decision making? And I'll give you a little bit of a background. I think it was last week. I was on the phone with a friend of mine, and we were just having a gist, just talking. And he was telling me that, hey, I always struggle to make decisions. He was telling me that he will spend hours, days, going over everything that he needs to do. And sometimes he will not be able to, move forward. It will get stuck. And I know you are trying to help people to get unstuck. So Why is it that people find it hard to make decisions?
Yeah, I think there's two big reasons. I think the first one is perfectionism. We really want the decision we make to be 100% perfect. Like, this is it. I know this is it. Every other answer is completely wrong. And it doesn't actually happen in real life. Like, in real adult life, you're not in school anymore. There's not a right and wrong answer. There's just making a decision. And it's uncomfortable to make that decision when both answers probably 85% right, and you just have to choose which direction you want to go in. And I think the other thing that really holds people back is fear, like that fear of making the wrong decision keeps them from making a decision. And that in and of itself is actually a decision. Not doing anything is a decision you are making. And, I work with a lot of clients who are younger, but I also have a surprising number of clients that are in their 50s and 60s. And, they've been especially a lot of women who waited until their kids were completely out of the house to start really focusing on what they want. And they're, say, 55, and it's really hard because they've spent so many years putting themselves second that they have a hard time actually really making that decision to put themselves first. And it feels uncomfortable. And I think the more that we can get comfortable with the fact that this is the decision I'm going to make, it may be right or it may be wrong, but there are good reasons to do it. And so even if it turns out to be wrong, I can pivot from it. I think that's a really valuable way of looking at life that a lot of us don't, because we're so trained to believe that there's a right decision. My gut's going to tell me the right decision, and I'll go forward, and it's going to be perfect and fairy tale, like cue movie music in the background.
So yeah, I completely agree with you. The fear, of making mistakes, and our desire or the drive to make sure that everything we do is perfect. I think those two can limit us and really hold us back from making any forward movement. So that's good. And you also said not doing anything is a decision on its own, so it's important as people are trying to, figure out what they need to do in life. They must at least take a step. Right. If they do nothing will happen. That's just what you just said. And that's completely clear to me. So you've said why you've explained to us why people don't make decisions. Now let's talk about how people can, make decisions maybe quicker. It's not going to be perfect, except we are not living in a fairy tale. So it's not going to be perfect. So how can people make maybe good decisions? Let's put it that way.
Well, I think there are a couple things that really help. I think getting outside of yourself is the biggest one. When you're feeling stuck, like when you were talking about that friend of yours, that friend is feeling stuck, and the stuck feeling, that stuck energy really is depressing. It's depressive. Like, I don't even need to get woo-woo about this. Like, if you're really worried or uncertain, that energy just makes it harder to make the decision. So the more you can do to push yourself outside of that. So one of the things that I really talk to people a lot about is looking for people who can help you. Looking for people who either help you like one-on-one, where you can actually go ask them questions, but also looking for people who are examples that you can go back and read their stories and look at their examples. Because a lot of times when we look at people like, say, Oprah, like, it's easy to be like, oh, she's done so much. I put her on this pedestal and there's no way I could get there. Well, it's a lot easier if you start with someone who's not quite so far ahead of you. Like, if you look for people that are just a couple steps ahead of you, then you can really look and see what they were doing, how they've done this, take kind of their example and make it your own. I think that one of the other reasons, actually, now that I think about it, is one of the reasons why we get stuck is we feel like we should be able to Google and get the answer. Like the answer is at our fingertips, except that it's not, because if we don't have the experience to filter through all of the information and decide what's right for us, then that information isn't really helpful. Like there's a lot of information out there. Like take recipes, for example. I don't know about you, like some of my very favorite recipes, I've gone online, Googled it, and I'll read the recipe like, oh, this isn't going to work. Like they're missing some key ingredient that's how I make it. And, but we have the experience when we're cooking things that we are familiar with. We have the experience to be like, nope, that recipe's not right. I don't remember what the recipe is, but that one is using cream instead of butter, and that's not going to come out right. Well, it's the same thing. Like say you wanted to start a podcast. Like you go online and you're like, how do I start a podcast? You're going to get hundreds upon hundreds, if not millions upon millions of articles, YouTube videos, just everyone having their input into how and it's overwhelming. If I have never started a podcast, which I have never started a podcast, if I had never done video editing, or audio editing, if I had never tried to get guests on a show, these things are overwhelming. And I don't necessarily have the experience to look at those hundreds of millions of articles and decide which one's going to be right for me. And that's where human experience becomes so important. Yes. And we, in a lot of cultures, we value like the older generation because that older generation can give us the experience. Now, I think I'm American. I feel like in America, we've really undervalued the older generation. And at the same time, also just undervalued everybody else's experience. But that experience is really important to help you decide how you want to go forward yourself, with a huge caveat. It needs to be more than one person. If you just ask one person, then you're going to end up creating the exact same podcast as Boba. Or if you ask someone who's a sports podcaster, your podcast is going to be completely different. Right. And so you have to be aware that asking multiple people and getting information from multiple people, using them as teachers. So that way you can take their information and decide what's going to work best for you. And that is the case in pretty much every human decision we ever need to make.
Oh, so good. I like what you said. Experience is very important. And you also mentioned the fact that success leaves clues. So find someone that has done it, talk to them. Yeah, you can learn from them and, figure out your own path. So that's also very good.
I have a really funny story about this, actually, because I think that this is why people hire coaches, right? Because we have experience. I may not have experience in 100 industries, but with all of the clients that I've had, I have a lot of information about each industry, and I can help people filter through information. And so I was explaining this after my son. I also had a hip injury, and I was talking to this woman who was a fitness instructor. She was working one-on-one with me very specifically to help me with my hip injury. And I was telling her this, and I think our first session, and she's like, if I had hired you, I would have never become a fitness instructor. And I was like, wow. Oh, I'm sorry. And I asked her, I was like, why? And she was like, I don't make very much money, so I can't live in this neighborhood. This neighborhood was pretty expensive, and she couldn't afford to live there with her family. However, at least in the States, when you're a fitness instructor, you're working really early in the morning. Like, there are people who, really want to hit the gym at 5 a.m. And then the stay-at-home moms come around by like 10, but then there's this huge middle time, probably from 10 to 3, that there's no one to work with. And so then she has to come back to work at 3 and work till 8. And it was really exhausting, especially because she didn't live anywhere near there. So she had nowhere to go for those 5 hours.
Yeah.
And she could drive all the way home, but that was an hour away. And it was really
That's tough.
like, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough. And she was right. If she had hired me, that would have been one of the first things I would have told her. Are you aware of what the schedule is like? Because a lot of people can't handle this.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right.
But it's just like taking that information and being able to filter it. And coaching's great, but you don't need a coach. What you really need is to make sure that you're getting lots and lots of layers of other people's experience so that you can avoid their mistakes.
Absolutely. So one way, I know you've mentioned quite a number of ways to get that experience is also through reading. I went on Amazon. I saw your book, The Clarity Journal, and I'm going to recommend it to people because for me, I love simple books that break down what I need to do into steps. That step, I'll be okay, step one, step two, that way I'll know that I'm making progress. And I'm sure that that's what we are going to get with your book. You focused especially on women. You want to help them to break that back and forth cycle. And earlier on, you mentioned maybe for women that maybe they just gave birth or they are trying to raise their baby. They've been conditioned to not always put themselves first, and I think there are quite a number of women that may be in this situation today. They may want career, they want family, and sometimes it's difficult to, balance the two. What recommendation, Becca, do you have for people in this situation today on how to, balance the family issues with career prospects?
Oh, that's such a big question, right? It's kind of $1 million question. I think a lot of times, one of the reasons why I focus on women is because we have a hard time putting ourselves first. That is not to say that every man puts themselves first either. I do have a lot of men that I work with as well. But I think that it's hard to look at this cute little baby and not say, oh, I need to sacrifice for him. I don't think that it's the right message. It is the message that society gives to women, but I think the right message is your child is going to be happier if you are happy. And whatever you need to do to make yourself happy, as long as you are covering the basics, feed your kid, please.
Oh yeah, that's important.
There are cases of true neglect, but assuming you are not neglecting your child, you being happy is actually one of the most important things. And I think also, especially if you're raising girls, I only have boys right now, but if you're raising girls, how powerful is it to have the example of their mom really focusing on what she wants to do? Seeing the example of, I can have a good mom who also puts herself first and has boundaries. Yeah. I think that is just what we should all be aiming for, men and women. It's like where we can do that balancing act of, yes, I am going to take care of and love my children, but also I'm going to take care and love myself.
Absolutely. So it's really a balancing act. And the way you put it is that people should nurture and achieve their hopes and dreams while they are raising their children. So that's important. So your book, The Clarity Journal, I want you to, give us one of the takeaway from the book, or maybe, the takeaway from the book.
So the takeaway from the book really is that the more you can get outside of your own head, the better the end result is going to be. The more that you're not just stewing about it with friends, but really being proactive and focusing on what's going to make you happy. Because the book actually starts off with figuring out what's going well in your life. Because I think a lot of times when people feel stuck, they feel like that everything's bad and they don't recognize the good things that are going on in their lives. So I take them through everything that is going well so that it can be really integrated into whatever final solution you come up with. And I also really do a deep dive into understanding your own strengths, because I think that a lot of times people undervalue their strengths because they come easy. And so if it comes easy to you, then it doesn't seem as valuable to you. It's funny. I will notice with clients I'll be talking to, I will sometimes pause the conversation and just be like, hey, what I'm hearing is that is a big strength of yours. Are you aware of it? And a lot of times the answer is no, not really. That comes easy. Like, doesn't everyone have that? And then as I'm talking to them further, it's actually very apparent that they get mad at other people that don't have that strength because they're expecting it to come easy to those people too. And being able to really own that, writing is a strength of mine. I also really love brainstorming. Brainstorming is a huge strength of mine. Now, if I just assumed, hey, that comes easy to me, that's not valuable, well, then I don't charge. I don't ask for raises. I don't, and I'm much more likely to take on projects that use other things, other maybe not such great skills of mine. If I'm really bad at foreign languages. So I have taken French, I've taken Spanish, and I've taken Chinese. And I can order food anywhere. Like, I can order food in most parts of the world at this point.
Oh yeah, that's good.
But I don't have a natural ear for it, and I've never been, even though I've really practiced hard, I've never been able to become particularly conversational. So if I ended up, not really recognizing, hey, this is a weakness, then maybe I'd end up having a job where I would have to use my foreign language a lot more. And sure, maybe I would improve, but it needs to be a conscious decision. This is something I want to improve on. A lot of people don't want to improve. Like, you talk to a person who doesn't really enjoy math, 9 times out of 10, that person does not care about getting better at math by the time they become an adult.
That's right.
And it's okay. And I think that it's really about giving permission and being mindful with yourself that what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and really blending the two in a way that is going to make you happiest and the way that is going to allow you to spend the most time in flow, like where you actually are enjoying your work. You feel like you have mastery over it, and it's a fun, creative challenge instead of just something that is an ordeal or something that is, uncomfortable and unfun.
Mindfulness, that's what I'm hearing. And
mindfulness.
I heard intentionality as well,
right?
Because you spoke about strengths. It takes a lot for people to discover their strengths. You say you like writing. I also enjoy writing. So it takes just sitting down, thinking about your life. That who am I? What do I really enjoy? I think people need to get to that stage in their life that they will be intentional about it. That, hey, who am I? What do I want? And with that, they will be able to move towards that clarity stage that we are talking about here. And you mentioned focus. It's so funny that I think was it last week that I had another interview with another guest. He put it this way. He said, where the focus is, the energy flows. So it depends on what we are focusing on, and that's crucial as we move forward to attaining that clarity. So thank you, Becca, for sharing that with us. So for my audience that want to connect with you and learn more about you, I know your book is on Amazon, The Clarity Journal. How else can they connect with you so that they can follow you and read your book and learn more about what you do?
So they can find me at my website, beccaribbing.com. That's BECCARIBBING. And I'm sure it'll be in the show notes.
Yes, it will. It will be. So awesome. So Becca, thank you very much for coming on the show today. I've enjoyed having this conversation with you. Clarity is very, very important because if you are not clear about the path forward, you get stuck. And Becca is here to help people get unstuck. So get unstuck, guys, and move forward. Grab a copy of Becca's book, The Clarity Journal. It's on Amazon. And you can also check Becca out on our website. Thank you again, Becca, for being with us today. We appreciate your time here.
Thank you so much.
All right.
This episode of Winner's Ways podcast has come to a close. We hope you enjoy and learn something from today's show. We want you to win and excel in all areas of your life, and we regularly explore and share information with our listeners to empower them to win. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast for more tips and strategies to help you find the success that you've always dreamt of. And don't forget to rate and review so that we can continue to bring you more podcast episodes to empower you. We will love to have you again next week. Now, keep winning.